Okay, so I sat and had a conversation with Isaac, who happens to be a serial entrepreneur. This guy is super, super cool. I'm excited to be able to share this conversation with y'all because, I mean, just as well as I do these in order to be able to open an opportunity for people who are involved in entrepreneurship or interested or things like that to be able to pick up some nuggets. But I picked up some super cool nuggets from this conversation, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys pick up. Remember to like, share, and subscribe if this thing connects with you. And let's get into it. Good to see y'all again. Hey, like I said, I always say I'm super excited about this conversation.
Definitely.
I'm very, very excited about this conversation. I'm sitting down with a guy that I actually ended up meeting and connecting with through the gym.
Yeah.
Getting it in. I call it the buffet. We need to get some shirts to say that.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
buffet and have like a little barbell.
Crazy,
But you know, met at the gym or whatever, and ended up connecting well with him. Found out that he is an entrepreneur, and beyond an entrepreneur, he is a serial entrepreneur, which means that this dude is out of his mind. It shows in his work ethic,
Crazy.
but it also shows in the gym as well, and everywhere else, and everything that the guy does. And so I'm excited to be able to have this conversation. And without further ado, what's going on with you, Isaac?
Man, thank you, bro. Thank you. You know, I appreciate you having me here, D.
Yeah.
For real, I'm really excited about how, you know, like the stuff came to fruition.
Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy to think because I feel like there are people in your life that you connect with on a natural level, but then there's also people that when you connect, it feels like it's been beyond that connection. It's almost like naturally vibrating in that same energy, that same like equation just matches up. You know what I'm saying? When 2 meets 3, the 5 becomes. But there's some things that don't match. So I feel like me and you got that energy that really, really matches that, bro. So I'm really excited that this is finally came from it.
Yep.
And I'm excited to be here, bro. I mean, I love to see you work and you know, tell me a little bit about what you do to the deeper level. And you know, let's look into that stuff.
Solid. So let's do this. I want to hear. Let's go back to young Isaac.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Let's go back to transport. So how old are you now?
I'm 30 right now. I'm 30 years old, bro. I'm in the 30s. I love it.
When's your birthday?
It's in October 12th.
So you are the younger of the two, right?
Yes, my older brother is 2.5 years older than me.
Okay, shout him out.
You know, I gotta give a big shout out to my boy Lathan, my big brother, one of my best friends, literally my best friend for life. He has taught me. He has made, you know, he's had my back. He has taught me a lot, and he's had a lot of weight to being who I am. So shout out to Lathan. I love you, bro. Thank you so much for always being with me in spirit and physically, brother.
Solid. Listen to that.
You know what I'm saying?
All right, so he owe you for that one.
For sure. Yeah. No, he knows. You know, I think should be hitting the Cash App here soon, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, so let's go back to childhood. All right. Okay. What and I'm not gonna dig right in as far as entrepreneur part go, but if that's there, then let's talk about that. So
you know, one of the questions that a lot of people ask me, and they've been asking me more and more because I've learned to listen more than talk. I've always been a talker more than a listener, even though I listen very well and I feel like I absorb information. One of the questions that a lot of people have been asking me is like, what was that moment for you that kind of just clicked, kind of just turned into it? Yeah. And to be honest, bro, there hasn't been. I feel like I've always been this. Yeah. I feel like it was something that I always saw myself as, but I had to do a lot of with the reflection of my parents. Like I would pull up and I would pull up places and my parents would be like, you know, this is my son. He's really smart. He always is well behaved. Yeah. He never gets in trouble. Yeah. Always, you know what I'm saying? He does everything great. He talks, you know, do a backflip or, you know, do something, show off, right? Yeah. And in those moments, sometimes I would listen to my parents and I would be like, dang, you know, I don't see myself as that. But one thing that I know is I can't make my parents be liars. Yeah. So I would live up to the expectation. I would become that person. Okay. I would be the well-behaved. I would be the smartest, the hardest worker, the best. And that also was my older brother. You know, I would be, because I was always the type of person that me and him have been really, really close since we were younger. So it came to, he would introduce me and he'd be like, this is my little brother. He's stronger than you. He's smarter than you. He'd just be like, he's strong. He would even say it about himself, which is so humbling for a man to be as an older brother. Instead of trying to help hype himself up, he'd hype me up. He's like, this guy knows business. And I'm just like, I do. So I'd have to go back. I'm like, I got to learn all this stuff because the next person he introduced me, you know, to, they asked me, let me give you a question. Like he's really good at math. So I'm like, let me work on these equations. So when somebody gets me, I'm sharp. So I feel like really having the people around me tell me all that positive messages, and kind of like, you know, engrave that stuff into my mind has got me to the level where I'm at. I can't fail anyone.
Yeah.
The people who've had my back, I gotta have their back by being the person they expect me to be.
Yeah.
And it just kind of, as far as I can remember. I mean,
Okay.
I remember a lot. So.
All right. So what's your earliest memory of something that not necessarily even something that you per se made money on, but something that it was an idea, you know what I mean, that you had, and it was just like, man.
So my parents are pastors, right? My dad's retired. My parents retired from being pastors, but I grew up in the church every day of my life, Monday through Sunday, pretty much. My parents were
8
hustlers.
days a week.
8 days a week for sure, 25 hours a day.
I had the same thing.
You know what I'm saying? And it's a beauty because I was able to be able to meet God at a young age, and always have him in the back of my mind. No matter what stage I've been through good stages, bad, rough stages, no bad stages, but rough stages, rough patches and stuff. But my parents were always, they were ministers before they were pastors. So they were pastors of pastors. So they would come up and, give classes, public speaking, and I would see them in action because we lived in the Bronx. I grew up in the Bronx, and, I wasn't staying home by myself. There was no daycare, even though I was in every after school program you can think of in elementary school. I was chess champion in like 3rd grade, and the all 3rd graders, again, my mom telling me all this stuff, storytelling champion in 5th grade. I mean, all these little, silly stuff, but I was just living up to it. So I remember, as far as I can remember, my mom, snatching a stack of business cards because I would embody what my parents would do. So, my parents would go and be like, "Hey, how are you doing?" Look someone in the eye when you speak to them. Stand up when you shake their hand. Have good listening. Good manners. You listen well. You keep your hands still. Which I don't do any of that now. But don't put your elbows on the table. Silly stuff like that. But I remember as soon as I can remember, as long as I can remember, every church that we went up to, I would be just like them. They dressed me up real spiffy. I'd grab a couple business cards of my parents and be like, "Hi, how are you doing? I'm Pastor Lath's son. If there's anything I can do for you, if they're too busy, you can talk to me. I will let them know." And I'm talking about, I'm 4 or 5 years old doing this stuff because our family was so close. It's like, we have to figure out how to eat. We have to figure out how to, how to survive. Because like I said, we've been through some good patches. Most of my life, I grew up really, really poor. And I think that the dueness to poverty was just because of selflessness. Now I feel like I've taken it to the next level, and I love to give, I love to do, but in reality, I think that you can't give yourself out of a position, so I kind of just took what I learned, not throwing shade on anybody, but always try to do better with something. Try to be, my floor is their ceiling, and I always say I want to be that for my kids. You know what I'm saying?
So you ever heard of the APEST? So, no, and it's funny, this is the 3rd podcast that I'm talking about this, but it just, having these conversations, they keep bringing it up. So the APEST is it's a test, an online test that you could take.
Okay.
And now churches are starting to use them because they're finding that once you kind of figure out a person's strength or kind of where they they naturally sit in.
Definitely.
If you utilize those skills, then it actually helps a ton within the body. And so, for instance, A is for apostle, P is for prophet,
pastor, or prophet.
E is for evangelist, S is for shepherd, and T is for teacher.
Yep.
And the wild thing is that I keep on saying is that 9 times out of 10, most entrepreneurs fall under apostle. So apostle is one that actually starts stuff, that's like good at starting stuff.
And so I went to church all in Spanish. So when you say APEST, that test, I know exactly what you're talking about. I mean, my dad gave 100 sermons on it, always, and he said like the pastor would be the pinky because he's the one who gets in and gives the dirt out of it. And he had a whole thing about it, brother. So it's really awesome to hear you say that, because it's, I've never heard about the test. But I know that identifying who and what your calling is for, you want to make sure you sharpen on that, because talking about it, not to get preachy, but I don't want to say the biggest, but one of the issues I think that people have is pride. And they want to choose who they are, what part of the body they are. But yet, because everybody wants to be the head, because they think that that's the most important. But try to walk without a pinky toe. You know what I'm saying? Try to walk without a foot. Right. And another thing is that when the business works together, and I'm kind of just dropping little droplets. When the body works together, think about it like right now, your hands are individual, your feet are individual. But as soon as, if you get hit, let's say you stub your toe, what's the first thing that you're doing?
I mean, it depends on who you are. You may be yelling, making some noise. You may be grabbing at your foot.
Most people are gonna grab at the foot. They're gonna yell, they're gonna make some noise, but the first thing they're gonna do is the whole body. The whole body goes towards the attacked situation. You get punched in the arm, you hold the arm. You
Yeah.
can't hold this arm, so you would do it like this. But so what I'm saying is like
Wow.
how important something feels so meaningless until it needs help. One thing that I feel in business that people don't do is they don't help each other out. They don't work as one. They don't flow as one person. They don't flow as a body. As soon as one person's struggling, everyone should attack that place. And how can we help you? How can we soothe that help? How can you struggle? Because without my elbow, I can't move my arm. If I don't got my arm, you know,
Look,
it's all the
man,
same
so
thing, bro.
This is wild.
I'm telling
so
you.
I'm getting a whole lot of and I I'm because you are, what's your nationality?
I was born in Venezuela.
Okay, so
I'm Hispanic.
okay, all right, and I don't want to paint with a broad brush, but I will say one thing that I do notice that people that are Hispanic do very well, at least it seems, is that. So it's like there's such a large amount of like, hey, there's this thing here, there's this need here. Hey, let's go towards like working together for this thing or for this need. How much of that do you feel like you've actually absorbed as far as your own life, your own family, as far as like, is that to be accurate, or is that just something that I've seen?
So I've really seen it in Arabic people.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
their culture is so intriguing. Right now, I've been really trying to focus on like learning, not focus on. I've been finding myself focused on learning different cultures. I'm a kind of person that all my friends are from, I become friends with anybody.
Yeah.
And I love to learn off of them because I feel when you said what did you say? I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm also kind of crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I feel like everything is relative. Everything's always a relativity. So remember when I told you I go down some crazy rabbit holes? Here's one.
Yes.
So I feel like a lot of people, I feel like I've lived my life to the fullest in relativity. So let me give you an example. If me and you have never felt any pain, right? And actually, I'm gonna be a ghost person because I don't like to guess any, wish anything bad on anything. God forbid anything. But if there was another person, just imagination, he gets his foot cut off, right? That hurts a lot. He's never felt pain.
Okay.
And then I get punched in the arm really hard. Yeah, we have both felt the most amount of pain we have ever felt.
Yeah.
Because that's the most pain we've ever felt. So how do I try to understand the pain that he has felt?
Right.
I have to take what I have felt. I have to take in consideration what have I gone through.
Yeah.
And then I have to use my wisdom and my knowledge to calculate. I would say that's 100 times more painful than yours.
Yeah.
So I have to be like, okay, so in order for me to imagine your pain, I have to take the most that I felt, use my eyes, use my senses, use my, you see what's going on in the amount of pain and think that is 1,000 more, 100 times more, 5,000 times more, whichever the number, but I have to use the relation between what I felt and that person has felt to kind of come up to what it is.
Yeah.
That goes back to how we are humans and we're limited by by our senses. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can only physically without Jesus Christ, and I don't want to get preachy, but without Christ, like we are limited in this body because we're limited by this vessel. I can only feel a certain amount of joy. I can only feel a certain amount of happiness physically. I can only feel a certain amount of pain. Once you have so much pain, your receptors go down, then you pass out, right? So the same thing has to do with when I realized, like, or not even me, but another thing is like drug addicts. When you or somebody, it doesn't have to be a drug addict. Maybe that's kind of crazy.
That's fine. No, go ahead.
People who use drug users, they would use a drug, feel that first high, and then they do it again. But because that high is so similar, they feel like that first impression of wow, the most I've ever felt. They're chasing that high because they want that most again.
Dang.
So I feel like I figured out at a young age. I remember being 21. I had just bought my first Chrysler 300. This was 2016. It was like 2 years old. I paid cash for it. I had been flipping cars, and I was like, that was my pride. And I felt like I made it, man. Like my son, my son is 3. My wife is person. I'm like, I can't believe like this is. I felt at the top of the world because I had no debt. I worked for myself. I had achieved things that everyone around me. That a big side, because there's always been two sides. People who are always on my corner, people who are completely against me, hoping that I failed. You always have haters. Yeah. Everything that my haters said I would never make, I had achieved it. And then I started realizing, and then God spoke to me and he said, this is the most you'll ever feel without me. And it makes me think like, so materialistically, this is the most that I ever felt. So this feeling is going to be the same feeling when I'm driving a Ferrari.
Yeah.
This feeling is going to be the same feeling when I'm driving a Bugatti.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, I've lived everything. So what is the purpose of life?
Mm.
What is my purpose at this point? What am I chasing? Am I
Yeah.
chasing that same limit, or am I trying to be limitless? Am I trying to feel the best? So then I started realizing, I started, searching and soul searching and realizing joy is the only thing that you can share without having less of. So when you feel joy and I feel joy,
Yeah.
you don't have to give up any of your joy for me to feel something.
Yeah.
So let me start helping people become joyful and reaching their happiness and reaching their goals, so
Wow.
they can reach that level that I reached at 21 years old
Yeah.
and thinking I made it.
Yeah.
And I realized, like, what is my purpose now?
Yeah.
So when God came to me and he told me, without me, this is all you're going to feel, I started realizing there's no joy without him.
Wow.
So I love to make people feel joy.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I can't live more than I've already lived for my life.
Yeah.
So the new limits that I'm able to reach is joy through bringing joy through others.
Dang. Hold on, man.
It's crazy, bro. It's crazy.
Hey, he's giving some nuggets. All right.
I'm telling you.
So,
and
dude, it's so wild, man, because I'm just laughing because, and I don't even think we've ever had this conversation, but I'm a believer. And so, super involved, in the community, in my church, my house. So,
definitely.
So it's just wild to think about how, I'm thinking about how everything that God allows us to do or gives us, whatever it is, if it's, you happen to be into fitness, you may be into cars, you may be into music, you may be into whatever. It is all for a means of being able to get into a conversation with somebody to be able to share just that thing right there.
Exactly.
And so it's just like all of the stuff just so happens to be a vehicle or a tool to open up the door for that conversation to happen.
Yep.
And so, but it's just cool because it's like, I assume that you're a joyful guy. Like every time I'm connecting with you, like seriously, you have joy on you, and it doesn't come across as somebody that's trying to force something that isn't there.
Yeah.
And the wild thing is, man, it's like often within entrepreneurship there's kind of this almost an assumption of what it is. So you got people that either think that everything is just always amazing because every deal gets made and it's always the best deal, or you also get people that thinks that everything is just horrible, it's terrible, it's the most stress ever. And it's just wild because it's like to see that joy happen. You can go ahead, hold on, let me finish this. To see that joy happen is just, and see that true in you is just a picture, man, of like it's possible to have that joy.
Definitely.
And it's beyond just the next deal or just the next call that you're going to take.
Definitely. And you know what? It's because of perspective.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure we put that on there because I want to talk about perspective of life right now.
All right. Okay, that was part one of our conversation. I'm super excited that you guys stuck around and watched it. And I'm looking forward to sharing part two of this conversation. Like I always say, if there's something that connected with you, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. That way we can continue to push this stuff out to other people, other entrepreneurs, or people who may be thinking about it. And with that being said, let's go.